In this week's video, I'm showing why Canon's cheapest lens is an amazing choice for travel and street photography, whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro. So today I'm talking about this lens. It's the Canon 50mm f1.8, but it's the RF version for Canon's most recent mirrorless cameras. Now, this lens is affectionately known as the Nifty 50. The reason is that it is dirt cheap. In fact, this only cost about £200 brand new. Now, I had the previous version of this, the EF mount one. That was only about £90 or £100 brand new. And I bought that and I absolutely loved it, as does everyone. Like, these are famously really great lenses for really good prices. And the new updated model is absolutely amazing. I have been absolutely blown away by the shots that I can get from such a cheap lens. It makes it amazing, not just for beginners looking for their first lens, but actually it's a really great one for pro photographers like myself who want something really small, really light, that they can chuck on a small camera body. At the moment it's on an R6, but on a Canon RP, you've got this really compact but powerful shooting setup, which is great for just walking around, visiting small towns like St. Monans, which I'm doing this morning, or street photography, travel. It's a really, really nice setup, and I'm going to show you some of the shots that I'm going to take. So I'm aiming for the windmill, but I think I may have come the wrong way. I'm not sure I can actually get up there from beach level, because it looks like there's a pathway with a fence, and I am not on that pathway. Aha, success. This side of the fence, the correct side of the fence. So I'm at the windmill. I'm going to have a little move around because we've got the sun, as you can see, up here, and it's a little bit on the other side. So I'm thinking that coming around here somewhere, getting it as a side light, is going to be the best thing for it. Also, I quite like these sort of undulations here, although they do look a little bit like graves. But it could be a more interesting bit of foreground. Maybe something a little bit more like this, or we could move around like this. But at the moment, other than these sorts of undulations, I'm struggling for some more interesting foreground. I'm wondering if I kind of hop down onto the beach, I could shoot up, maybe use some of this. That might be quite nice. So I think I might give that a little go. I need to find a spot where I can jump down, because this is about 6 foot, I'd say. I don't really want to jump that right now. Aha, steps. That's safer than just jumping. And hopefully I can make my way around like this. So down here there is a lot of interesting rocks and pools and all kinds of things for nice foreground, but it's a little bit too far away from the windmill itself. So it's just a case of moving around and seeing if I can find a way to line all of those elements up nicely in a shot. Obviously down here, this sort of bit of cliff is totally cutting off the windmill itself, so this isn't going to work. This actually highlights one of the things I like most about shooting with this lens, or at least prime lenses like it, is that you have to really work for your compositions. You can't just stand still, zoom in and out. Like if you had a 24-70 on, you've got to move around your scene. You've got to see how things line up. You've got to be able to look through your camera. Oh shit, nearly fell over. You've got to actually look and work on your composition. You've got to find those elements that work, and maybe you've got to move around. You've got to take a few steps or many steps, completely change your angle. It's not just about keeping your camera in one place and fiddling with that zoom. And as a result, I tend to find that you get much more considered compositions because you've really had to think about every single element that's going into your shot. That said, I actually don't think coming down here was the greatest idea for the windmill. It doesn't really work. So I'm not sure how easy this is to see, but coming down here has allowed me to get a much lower view of those flowers in foreground looking straight up at the windmill. I'm just hand holding this, focusing on the windmill itself, f4.5, taking my shot. I'm actually going to do that again, this time at f1.8, a maximum aperture, because I really want those flowers to be nice and out of focus. Take a few snaps. Hopefully one of those will have looked quite good, but I'm also just going to try and move. This is very loose ground here, but I'm going to try and move a little bit closer. Something like this, there we go. And again, focusing on the windmill, flowers in the foreground, and take a few shots. And I think one of these should look pretty nice. Okay, I did find one more composition I like before I left this little spot, and it's using this pathway here as a nice literal leading line up towards the windmill itself. I'm getting very, very low to the ground with a wide open aperture to try and maximize that depth of field. Focusing on the tower. I'm underexposing quite a lot because that sky is really bright, and shooting away. Also been trying to use some of these flowers, well, maybe just dandelions really, but there's a nice little splash of yellow. So again, focusing on the windmill, snapping away. I recently did a video about the benefit of sort of traveling light and just having like the one small setup. But with that video, I was using the Sony RX1, and that's got a fixed 35mm lens. And I do love just going out using that camera and its lens. But obviously with this, it isn't fixed. So you do have the benefit of being able to swap that 50 out for something else. I do have a 24-105 with me. I've been taking some other shots too. But this 50 is so nice to just have in your bag. It weighs so little, but it's brilliant to basically always have with you. You can throw it on and you can wander around town. Maybe you're doing like a short city break and you don't want to have a whole kit bag with multiple lenses in weighing you down. You just want to go out on the off chance that you might get some shots, or you're going to somewhere that's maybe a little bit busier and you don't want to be faffing around changing lenses. Chuck it on, out you go. It's great. So certainly if you're a beginner, upgrading to a nifty 50 lens, if you shoot Canon, like this, is a brilliant option. I've recommended these lenses and the EF mount ones to many new photographers, all of whom have absolutely loved it. But even if you are a pro, don't discount it either. Don't think, oh no, it's just a beginner's lens, I'm above that, I'm looking only towards like the red ring, expensive, fancy lenses. Because this thing is so much lighter than the 50mm that even if money is no object, this is still a really nice lens to have in your collection, purely for its weight, purely as something that you can just chuck on and just hop around taking photos without really having to feel weighed down, or without having to worry about damaging your £2,500 f1.2 lens. This is a lens I'm going to buy, whether or not I also buy the 1.2, I don't know, but this is a lens that I do want to just have available for quick trips. I love. What are these? Lobster nets. I don't eat lobster. I don't eat seafood at all. But I always find fishing villages like this fascinating places to shoot. I'm using these as foreground now, extreme foreground. Let's see if I can show you. So these boats, the building is sort of my subject in the distance. F1.8, focusing on there, and then just moving into position, putting the boat in that gap, and that's my shot. So as I'm going around, I'm looking for small details like that. I'm looking for items with texture, things that tell a story of a location where I am. I was walking over here and I really like the way that these three boats line up. I think that could look really nice. So it's just about keeping your eye open, but having your camera out like this, having a small lens, means that you're always ready to shoot. As soon as you see a shot that you like, you can get it. Finding those shots does just mean moving around. So I really like this boat. In the background we've just got a big lorry. So that isn't the most beautiful of scenes. Maybe if we move around the other way, we can find something else. What is this? The welly boot garden. I love it. Again, it's about looking around, finding great details. I love all these lobster pots, these ropes that have been piled up here. Really tells a story of the area. I really like this scene here. Actually, we've got several elements going on. We've got those rocks in the mid-ground, this nice rock, leaves and grass in the foreground, and also some really cool clouds in the sky. So I'm focusing on the rocks, reframing, and taking a few shots. I really like this view of the church and using some of these rocks as foreground interest, but the problem I've got is that over there we've got epic clouds, but behind the church it's basically an empty grey blob, which is disappointing because having a nice vertically shot image here with the rocks, with the water and with some epic clouds behind it, it would look super moody, super imposing, and it doesn't look like that. So I think I'm going to move around a little bit and see if there's anything else I can do with this scene from this side. But maybe I'm going to see if there's a pathway that I can take around, maybe even shooting from the other side. I think there's a footpath going up there. Maybe I could try and put some different clouds as a background. This is comfortably one of the best looking, best positioned churches I think I've ever seen. It's such a gorgeous little area. I think there's a pathway that goes that way that might take me to a nice spot. Ooh. So this is a pretty cool spot. So much interest going on. Awesome like rock stacks, loads of cool foreground, including some little flowers, and we've still got those cool clouds in the distance. I'm just carefully clambering over rocks. Some of these are pretty slippy, and I'm keen not to fall on my arse. My process here is basically going to be the same as it was at the windmill. I'm looking for interesting foreground, I'm looking for interesting angles. It's about moving around, my hair, moving around the scene and seeing what works best. Keeping nimble, keeping on my feet, trying not to stay in one place too long. Getting low like this. It's not quite wide enough. Yeah, that could work, but slightly down here. Definitely going to fall over at some point. Yeah, quite like that. Well, I think I fired off hundreds of shots on this little excursion so far, which is the downside probably of shooting quickly like this, is that you do tend to shoot more. You fill up your card and you have a lot more photos to go through when you get home, but it does probably increase the odds that one of those shots is going to be one that you actually really like, instead of going out and just taking one shot. Just playing with different angles on these rocks. And sometimes I do go the other way and just try and take the one or two shots that I really put a lot of effort into, and sometimes I go around and I shoot lots. Today is the latter. I think this video has probably gone on long enough. It's probably been quite a rough and ready one today, a little bit vloggy style as I'm just moving around. But if this video has been helpful, do please hit that like button. That is important. Subscribe to my channel if you don't already, because there is lots more stuff coming up soon, and I will see you next time. Now, how do I get back to my car?